Today, we're going to dive into a topic that honestly affects millions of people, but we're going to look at it through the lens of one really personal story. It's a powerful reminder of just how fast a financial situation can spiral completely out of control. So, let's get right into it.
Right off the bat, this is the core idea from our source material, and it's a quote that really sticks with you. We often talk about debt like it's just some nagging annoyance, a little monkey we're carrying around. But the truth, for so many, is that it's this crushing, suffocating weight, a gorilla that dictates every single financial move you make. So, how does something like this even happen? Well, this whole explainer is built around the true story of a family whose entire world was turned upside down by a single, totally unpredictable event. The kind of thing that really could happen to any of us. And for them, it led to a complete financial collapse. Okay, so here's how it started. It began with a shocking lung cancer diagnosis for a man who'd never even smoked. This forced him out of work for almost 2 years. As you can imagine, his life savings were just gone, completely devoured by medical bills. With zero income and expenses piling up, credit cards became the only thing keeping him and his daughter, who'd actually paused her own career to take care of him, afloat. They were their only lifeline.
Now, let's pivot from that emotional side of the story to the cold, hard numbers. Because once you're caught in this cycle, the math itself becomes the trap. This is where you can really see just how vicious this situation gets.
Let's break down their monthly budget. Together, they bring in $10,000, but $8,000 of that, poof, immediately goes to basic living expenses. Rent, food, insurance. So what about the last $2,000? Every single penny of it is eaten up by minimum credit card payments. That leaves them with exactly $0 at the end of every single month. They're working incredibly hard just to tread water. And this chart just visualizes that trap perfectly. A full 20% of their income, that's 1/5 of everything they earn, goes straight to the credit card companies. And here's the kicker. It's not even really paying down the debt. It's just enough to keep their heads above water, and that's it. And this is the result. In just 3 short years, their debt has snowballed into an overwhelming $45,000. It happened so fast. It started out as a tool they needed for survival, and then it just morphed into this unmanageable monster. So you might be asking, how did it grow so incredibly fast? Well, this right here, this was the trigger. See, at first, the cards had these manageable promotional rates, below 10%. But as soon as those introductory periods ended, the rates just skyrocketed to nearly 30%. At that point, any hope of paying down the actual debt became basically impossible. And this brings us to the real engine behind this whole catastrophe. This is what gives that debt gorilla its immense, crushing power. We're talking about compounding interest. This chart really shows you the gorilla at work. Of the $45,000 they owe, they only actually spent about $30,000. That means over a third of their debt is basically phantom money. It's pure accumulated interest. They are on the hook for $15,000 that they never even used. And for anyone who needs a quick refresher, compounding interest is basically a snowball effect from hell. You're not just getting charged interest on the money you borrowed, you're getting charged interest on the interest that has already built up. It's a financial force that works relentlessly against you day and night. Okay, this is probably the most terrifying slide of all. If nothing changes, if they keep making only those minimum payments, their debt is projected to double to $90,000 in just 2 to 3 years. And in 5 to 6 years, that $45,000 debt would explode to over $200,000. This is it. This is the exponential growth that traps people for life. Now, after seeing those projections, the author felt they had to issue what is basically a public service announcement. And it's a message that really serves as a critical, urgent warning for all of us. I know, it might sound a little too simple, but after seeing the math we just went through, the profound truth of this statement just hits you like a ton of bricks. Escaping this kind of debt is an incredibly painful, difficult journey. Prevention is, by far, the best strategy. So why the urgency? Well, as this story shows, getting out of this kind of debt is a brutally hard road. The longer you wait, the bigger that gorilla on your back gets. And because life is so unpredictable, a sudden crisis can turn what felt like manageable debt into a catastrophe overnight.
The big takeaway here is to have these difficult conversations with your loved ones now, and to be proactive. That's your best defense. But this story isn't just a warning. It also gives some real, concrete, actionable advice. So let's look at a few strategies for taking back control, especially during those times of the year, like the holidays, that often come with a lot of pressure to spend. Here's a simple 4-step plan. First, if you get gifts you don't really need, return them, and then take that cash and apply it directly to your highest interest debt. Second, when you're giving gifts, maybe go for something sentimental or budget-friendly instead of something expensive. Third, rethink that big vacation. A staycation can literally save you thousands. And finally, if you're in a position to help someone, think about this. A financial gift towards their debt could be the most meaningful, life-changing gift you could possibly give. And as we start to wrap up, it's so important to remember this is not some tidy story with a happy ending. The family that inspired this whole explainer, they are still right in the middle of this fight. They're still navigating this unbelievably difficult path, which just makes these lessons all the more real and all the more urgent for the rest of us. So we want to leave you with this one question. Now that you've seen how quickly this financial gorilla can grow, what's your plan to avoid it? Or, if you're already facing it, what's your plan to start fighting back? It's a conversation that's absolutely worth having, long after this explainer is over. Thanks for joining us.